Incredible act of love, cleaning lady saves Millionaire'S daughter and reveals hidden strength. Elena adjusted her worn-out mop as she entered the sprawling penthouse of the Davidson family. The sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the lavish decor that glittered with opulence. But there was a stark disconnect in the air, a world of gold and silk that felt foreign to her, like a dream she'd never wake up from. Each swipe of her mop was an echo of her life, a single mother hustling to keep the dreams alive for her 10-year-old son, Marco. Every day, she maneuvered between the polished mahogany furniture and the expensive vases that told tales of privilege. As she dusted the shelves, she couldn't help but wonder if she'd ever live in a place like this, where worries faded with luxury. But reality was a hard pill. Marco's school fees loomed large, and her paycheck had to stretch thin. But she bore it all with a determined heart, each chore reminding her that she was working not just for herself, but for a better future for her son. Her thoughts were shattered when she overheard hushed voices in the foyer. Alarm bells started ringing in her chest as she learned that Amber, the Davidsons' only daughter, had gone missing. Panic rippled through her as she made her way to the staff room, where whispers filled the space like smoke. They knew Amber had been struggling, but how could they let this happen? That's when urgency kicked in. She couldn't sit idle. Driven by a fierce sense of community, she rushed back to her small apartment and gathered her neighbors, a lovely tapestry of hardworking folks from diverse backgrounds. Together, they formed a search party. We can't just wait for the cops. Amber needs us. They hit the streets of Chicago, canvassing parks and alleys in an organized chaos fueled by love and determination. Laughter from children playing nearby mingled with their anxious breathing, but hope soared. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. They searched tirelessly, some holding hands in a sign of solidarity, but shadows of prejudice crept up during the frantic search. Elena felt the weight of their distrust as she heard murmurs questioning her authority. What does she know? They say, sneering at the cleaning lady. But she held her head high, fueled by the passion burning in her chest. When she finally found Amber, curled up in an abandoned lot, trembling with fear, something shifted. You're not alone, Elena whispered, her own burdens echoing in Amber's frightened eyes. In that moment, they stood on common ground, two women battling the invisible foes of circumstance. Just then, Amber's father stormed in, rage boiling over. And who are you? What can a cleaning lady do for my daughter? The tension erupted like a storm, raw emotions spilling out. Elena felt the sting of his words, but she anchored herself, realizing that her worth didn't come from the title she wore. Elena stood tall, facing the man whose world had always looked down on hers. The streets of legacy and privilege seemed to vanish for a brief moment, replaced by a truth that shook them both. As the dust began to settle, the air hung thick with possibility. Would there be a way for their lives to intersect beyond this moment? Could the bonds they formed today finally bridge the gap that had separated two worlds for far too long? Elena's heart raced as she faced Mr. Davidson, every word he hurled at her like daggers. She had braced for confrontation, but the reality of this man's fury was more than she had anticipated. The emotional weight of the moment pulled her down, but she reminded herself of Amber, huddled against the concrete, her eyes wide with fear. I found her, Elena managed, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. She was scared and alone. Isn't that what matters? Amber's father's face contorted with outrage, but something flickered behind his fury. Confusion? Concern? He looked at his daughter, then back at Elena, as if her very existence threatened the world he had built. You have no right to be here. He shouted, but his voice was losing its power, drowned out by the soft whimpers of Amber. Dad, please. Amber's voice broke, and both Elena and Mr. Davidson turned to her. I just wanted to be alone for a bit. I didn't want to worry you. Elena knelt beside Amber, the fear radiating off her small frame was palpable. You don't have to feel alone anymore. I'm here with you, she whispered. The connection between them deepened, drawing upon the raw emotional bond they formed amidst their shared struggles. Elena was surprised at how natural it felt to be this close to a millionaire's daughter, united by life's battles. Mr. Davidson's face softened for a moment, reflecting a flicker of understanding. Perhaps he saw in Elena something he could lean on, to a shared strength that had brought them all to this moment. Why was she out here? He muttered more to himself. The protective armor around his emotions began to crack. Amber needed space. Just like many of us do sometimes, Elena replied, rising to meet his gaze. We all face our demons. I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm just trying to help. For an unsettling moment, silence hung in the air. Then, in the distance, the faint sound of sirens approached, a reminder that the world they were in wouldn't remain still for their raw moment of truth. The sirens broke the tension, transforming the atmosphere from a private struggle into an apprehensive wait for outside intervention. Elena glanced at the tight-knit group of neighbors who had supported her during the search. They stood nearby, watching the scene unfold, their faces a tapestry of hope and anxiety. She could feel their solidarity, their belief that love and hard work could change the world, even in this wealthy, distant landscape. As the police arrived, questions swirled in her mind. Would this moment lead to a change, a deeper understanding? What would happen when the dust settled and lives returned to normal? Amber, still wrapped in Elena's warmth, looked up, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and something else. Could it be acceptance? What happens now? Amber asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Elena's heart sank at the uncertainty of the answer, but she turned and smiled at her, the warmth radiating from their shared connection. We'll figure it out together. No one has to face the world alone. But just as hope flickered, Mr. Davidson's voice broke in once more. Let us get you home, Amber. This woman doesn't belong in our lives. His words were like a cold slap, the gulf between their worlds resurfacing as if waiting to swallow them whole. The looming question hung in the air: would this act of love only serve as a temporary bridge, or could it transform their futures? Elena felt tension coil inside her as she pondered if her presence in Amber's life would endure or if she was just a fleeting moment in a tangled mess of privilege and pain. Amber looked between her father and Elena, confusion etched deep in her brow. What if I want her in my life, Dad? In that instant, everything hinged on Mr. Davidson's response. The silence thickened again as the weight of the world pressed down heavily on them all. What would he choose? Would he see beyond the surface and understand the powerful connection that had sparked in that one life-changing encounter? Elena held her breath, her eyes darting between Amber and Mr. Davidson. The moment stretched out, as if time had slowed to dwell on this critical juncture. The sirens faded into silence, their presence now overshadowed by palpable tension. Mr. Davidson stood frozen, his expression shifting from rage to something darker, perhaps fear. Amber, this isn't the way he started, but his voice wavered as he struggled with words that slipped through his grasp. Amber's hold on Elena tightened, a silent plea for her father to see the truth before him. You don't get it, Dad. I was lost and scared. Elena helped me find my way. Her voice bore the weight of unspoken fears, a child craving her father's understanding. Elena felt a rush of compassion wash over her. She had once stood at the very edge of despair, searching for direction and hope. She needs you to listen, Elena said gently, striving to keep her tone steady. There is so much more beneath the surface, Mr. Davidson. Amber just wants to be seen for who she truly is, not just the name on the door. His brow furrowed in a way that suggested he was beginning to grapple with the emerging realization that his daughter's happiness was worth risking his pride. The world he knew, filled with expectations and appearances, seemed fragile now, shaken by a truth he never wanted to face. But he stumbled, looking for excuses wrapped in control. This is not how things are done. You don't understand my life. I can't just allow what? Elena interrupted, her emotions simmering beneath the surface. Allow her to breathe? To choose her friends? To find support in people who care? You're hoping to protect her, but what about her own needs? A flicker of awareness ignited in Mr. Davidson's eyes, a brief moment where he seemed to search for the answer in his own heart. Elena seized the chance. Let her be loved and supported. You don't need to shield her from the world. Life is not about prestige, it's about connection. Amber's hand squeezed hers, a surge of strength pulsing between them. Elena could feel the warmth from Amber's trust, an unspoken agreement that they were both fighting for something greater. Just then, a police officer approached, clipboard in hand, glancing uncertainly from Mr. Davidson to the two girls. Is everything okay here? He asked, sensing the tumult in the AIR.MR. Davidson straightened, the weight of his role as a father taking precedence once more. We're fine, he replied curtly, but the tension in his voice betrayed the struggle within. What's best for Amber? The officer probed gently, his eyes landing on the girl who looked so lost yet so determined. You can talk to me. A deep breath escaped Elena, pulling her back from the edge of despair. This moment was pivotal, an opportunity to shine a light on the darkness. Amber turned to the officer, her small shoulders squared, and spoke with unexpected clarity. I want to decide for myself who I have in my life. I need Elena. Mr. Davidson's shoulders seemed to sag, a mixture of frustration and fear playing across his face. He was caught between the love for his daughter and the unfamiliar territory of letting go. Elena stood firmly, her heart pounding, hope battling anxiety. Amber's plea seemed to resonate in the air, challenging Mr. Davidson to confront the truth he had avoided for so long. What if it's time to trust her? Elena whispered, holding his gaze with unwavering conviction. What if love is about embracing the unknown and choosing to see beyond your fears? Silence wrapped around them as Amber's words hung in the air, a mixture of challenge and submission. Elena glimpsed a storm brewing within Mr. Davidson, an opportunity for transformation. Would he be brave enough to take a step into the light, to embrace the love he tried to shield Amber from? Or would he retreat back into the shadows of control, denying his daughter the very connection she so desperately craved? Just then, Elena felt a familiar rush of uncertainty overtaking her. What if this moment spiraled into chaos instead of clarity? Amber's future depended on him, but it rested on fragile threads. The air thickened as they all watched the father, waiting for him to choose. For a heartbeat, the world held its breath. Elena could see the internal battle raging within Mr. Davidson. His stern facade cracked, revealing vulnerability beneath. A spark of humanity lit his eyes as he took a step closer to Amber. Amber, he began, his voice barely above a whisper. There was a tremor in his words, and for the first time, he seemed to struggle with the weight of his role as father. Dad, please, Amber's voice was shaky but firm, I need you to understand. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm just trying to be me. She looked between the officer and Elena, seeking allies in a fight that felt monumental. The officer shifted his weight, casting a careful gaze over both Amber and Mr. Davidson. Amber, what you're asking for, your father loves you. He wants what's best for you, even if he doesn't see it the way you do. This is a big step for him. Mr. Davidson's throat tightened, and his emotions threatened to spill over. He'd spent a lifetime steering his daughter through a carefully curated world, never realizing that in doing so, he might have constrained her spirit. You think I don't want to support you? That I don't care? His voice raised slightly, desperation leaking through his words. I only want to protect you from people who don't understand you. Elena stepped forward, feeling a swell of resolve. But that's the point, Mr. Davidson. It's not about protection anymore. It's about trust. Giving her the freedom to explore who she is, even if it means facing the world and you head on. Amber's eyes shone, filled with a mix of fear and hope. I'm tired of hiding, Dad. Living up to your dreams for me. I just want to exist in my own truth. For a long moment, silence wrapped around them again, punctuated only by the distant sounds of traffic and hurried pedestrians. It felt like an eternity as Mr. Davidson searched for words that could bridge the gap between duty and love. Finally, he sank into himself, a defeated posture that broke Elena's heart. What if I don't know how to let go, Amber? The quaver in his voice was profound. What if I mess it up? Then we'll figure it out together, Amber said, stepping towards him, her small stature somehow filled with a monumental weight of bravery. I want to have you in my life. But it has to be real.
Not just a shadow of what you think I should be. I need you to see me. Elena felt a lump forming in her throat as she witnessed the slowly unfolding moment of truth. Would he grasp her hand and pull her into his world, or would they remain constrained in their separate battles? The officer, sensing the gravity of the confrontation, took a step back. I believe you both are on the brink of something important. What is it going to be, Mr. Davidson? Every eye was on him, the question hanging thick in the air, teetering on the edge of hope or despair. Mr. Davidson's jaw clenched tightly, a myriad of emotions swirling just beneath the surface. He glanced at his daughter, truly looked at her, with eyes slowly softening. There was a moment, fleeting yet profound, where their connection sparked like an ember, flickering beautifully against the darkness. Elena held her breath, her heart racing. Would he choose love or fear? Just then, a fleeting thought crossed Elena's mind. What if she had it wrong? What if Mr. Davidson turned away, leaving Amber to fend for herself? What if this moment didn't end the way they so desperately hoped it would? Would they lose each other in the vast landscape of misunderstanding? Mr. Davidson inhaled deeply, his expression somewhere between anguish and relief. As he opened his mouth, ready to respond, everything within Elena tensed, ready to capture his answer. Mr. Davidson's lips parted, and the moment seemed to stretch like taffy, each second filled with the weight of his decision. The air crackled between the three of them, a fragile thread of hope dangled precariously as he struggled to find the words. I don't want to lose you, Amber, he finally managed to say, his voice thick with emotion. But it scares me to think of you facing a world that might be cruel. Amber stepped closer, her brow furrowing with determination. But, Dad, I have to face it. How can I be strong if I'm always hidden away? The silence before his response was palpable, a heavy blanket that stifled every breath. Elena felt her heart race, every tick of the clock doing little to ease the tension. As Mr. Davidson looked deep into Amber's glistening eyes, something shifted. It was as if time paused, just long enough for him to see the girl standing before him, not just his daughter, but a brave soul yearning for authenticity. I don't know if I can understand everything you want to be, Amber, he said slowly, the quiver in his voice betraying the turmoil within. But I promise to try for you. A tremor of relief rushed through Elena, an unwavering hope weaving its way into the atmosphere. Amber's lips broke into a soft smile, one filled with unexpected joy. That's all I need, Dad. Just a chance. She took a bold step forward, reaching out with trembling hands. Mr. Davidson hesitated for merely a breath, then enveloped her in a warm embrace. It was a simple act, yet it felt monumental, as though the barriers that had defined their relationship for too long were crumbling to dust. Elena couldn't help but smile, feeling a gentle warmth wash over her. This family had taken their first step into a new light. The officer, a silent witness to this moment, cleared his throat, breaking the spell of intimacy that had wrapped around them. Remember, this is just the beginning, he said gently. The road ahead might be tough. You both have grown, but there will be bumps. A lot of talking, and more understanding needed. Amber nodded, glancing between the officer and her father. As long as we're working on it together, I believe we can get through anything. But then a shadow flickered over Mr. Davidson's face, doubt creeping back in. What if I mess it up again? What if I revert to old habits? Then we'll fix it together. Every time, Amber affirmed, her voice steady. It's worth the fight. You're worth it, Dad. With those words, Elena felt the gravity of their bond lifting, ready to embark on a journey where mistakes would be stepping stones instead of roadblocks. Yet deep in her heart, a lingering question remained, was this breakthrough enough? Would their new chapter flourish, or would the old fears creep back in, threatening to undo everything they had gained? As she watched Mr. Davidson nod, slowly coming to terms with the possibility of change, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that their battle was just starting. Outside, the world continued on a flurry of lives, unaware of the pivotal moment unfolding within. What awaited Amber and Mr. Davidson as they ventured into this uncharted territory? Would they emerge stronger, or would the shadows of doubt follow? They stood on the threshold of transformation, but the real test was yet to come. How deep were their commitments, and could love withstand the pressures of expectation? Elena took a deep breath, ready for the next step,
her heart brimming with anticipation and worry.
Would they trust enough to let their bond blossom into something extraordinary?
Or would they slip back into the comfortable confines of the past? The air hung thick with unanswered questions as they released the embrace, knowing that a new chapter was just beginning. Amber pulled back from the embrace, her breath catching as she looked at her father. His eyes, once clouded with fear, now sparkled with a flicker of something new possibility. It was a moment she had dreamed of, a change she had longed to see. The knot in her stomach began to ease, leaving room for hope to blossom. Mr. Davidson glanced at the officer, then back at Amber, as if gauging the depth of this newfound bond.
So, what's the next step?
He asked, his voice tentative but eager. Amber shrugged, a scuffed shoe shuffling nervously on the floor.
What if we start by talking? Like, really talking about everything. Elena felt her heart quicken. Talking.
It sounded simple, almost too simple, but it was essential. Yet, the tendrils of doubt threatened to coil tightly around that thought. She couldn't forget Mr. Davidson's past mistakes, the times his words had faltered, leaving wounds unhealed. Talking is good, the officer chimed in, his supportive tone buoying the atmosphere.
Just take it slow. There might be things you both need to share that are hard to say.
Amber nodded vigorously, determination etched on her face.
And we will.
I can tell you, Dad, that holding back only makes everything harder. She took a deep breath, steeling herself, and added, I want to talk about the bits that scare me.
Maybe you can share what scares you too.
A flicker of anxiety twisted Mr. Davidson's features.
You're right.
I guess I shouldn't just expect you to open up without me doing the same.
Elena could see the tension loosening just a bit.
They were forging ahead, slowly stepping over the rubble of the past, but they still had a long way to go. Suddenly, a ping from Amber's phone broke the moment. She glanced down, her expression shifting from anticipation to alarm. It's Mom, she muttered, her voice tinged with worry.
Amber, do you want to take it? Mr. Davidson asked, concern etched across his face.
She hesitated, biting her lip as she stared at the screen.
What if she doesn't understand? What if she panics?
Then it's an opportunity, the officer said gently. You might have to explain things you've talked about, to reassure her.
Communication is key.
I guess you're right, Amber finally said, straightening her back. Exhaling slowly, she swiped to answer the call.
Hey, Mom.
We need to talk. Elena watched as Amber's face transformed with each word, her posture growing steadier. She was becoming someone strong, someone determined to carve out her own space in the world. Mr. Davidson stood nearby, a mixture of pride and anxiety radiating from him as he heard snippets of Amber's conversation. The dialogue flowed, punctuated by Amber's occasional nods and reassuring smiles. But then she paused, her eyes widening, and Elena couldn't help but feel a pang of concern.
What was being said on the other end?
Mr. Davidson stepped closer, instinctively reaching out as if to comfort Amber with his presence.
Are you okay?
He whispered, though he was too far to hear the words. Amber turned her head slightly, her expression a mix of confidence and fear.
Mom's upset about everything.
She wants to know why I didn't tell her sooner. That twist of emotions felt like a slick knife to Elena's heart.
How much had Amber kept hidden from her mom? And what would be the repercussions for their relationships, now that everything was shifting?
Maybe you could tell her it's okay to be scared, Mr. Davidson encouraged softly, that expressing feelings doesn't mean weakness. Amber's brow furrowed, contemplating her father's words.
Yeah, I think I can do that.
As she continued the call, Elena felt the tension grow thick again. This was a moment of truth, one that could ripple outward, affecting so many people.
Could Amber's strength break through the fear holding her mother captive? When the call finally ended, a heavy silence wrapped around them all.
Amber's face was pale, the wind knocked out of her.
What did she say?
Mr. Davidson asked, worry flooding his tone. It's complicated, Amber replied, her voice low as if she were struggling to breathe under the weight of it. But she'll try
to understand, I think.
11 more questions hung in the air, trembling with unspoken emotion.
If this was what they were facing today, how would tomorrow unfold? Would they be ready to face the storms brewing in all their relationships? Elena swallowed hard, anxious that the journey was far from over. But she felt the flicker of resilience in Amber, and that conjured a wave of defiance against fading hope. Their battle for understanding was just beginning. Would they seize the moment, or would fear take hold once again? Amber let out a shaky breath after hanging up the call. The weight of the conversation lingered in the air like thick fog, clouding her mind. She felt as though she was standing at the edge of a cliff, staring down into the unknown. Turning to her father, she tried to gauge his reaction, but she couldn't decipher the myriad of emotions flickering across his face. I don't know how to feel," she admitted, rubbing her arms as if trying to chase away the chill. What if she never understands? Mr. Davidson took a cautious step closer, his eyes filled with warmth, a stark contrast to the chaos that erupted between them just months ago. Understanding takes time, Amber. She might need space to process everything. But you opened the door. That's the first step. Amber nodded, absorbing her father's words, even as doubt whispered in her ear. But what if she doesn't want to walk through that door? Then you stand on your side and keep it open, he replied gently. You don't have to rush this. Just let her know you're there. Elena watched the two of them navigate this delicate moment. It was new territory for all involved, filled with fear but also with the potential for healing. But she also felt the pressing weight of Amber's mother beyond the walls of this room. An emotional storm was brewing, and it threatened to spill over. I want to call her back, Amber said suddenly, and her voice had a new edge of determination. I want to tell her it's okay to be scared. To take her time. That's brave, Amber, Mr. Davidson said, pride swelling in his chest. But remember, if you do, stay true to your feelings. Elena stepped closer, feeling the urgency of the moment. Amber, the courage you're showing is inspiring. Just think about what it means for you and your mom. You're not just sharing your fears, you're inviting her to share hers as well. Amber took a deep breath, her gaze wavering. The phone felt like a lifeline in her hand, the connection to her past wrapping more tightly around her. After a moment, she pressed the dial button again, her heart racing like a drum. Hey, Mom, she said when the call connected, her voice steadier than she felt. It's me again. Amber? Her mother's voice was thick with emotion, a mix of confusion and relief. I don't understand everything. I know, but I want to explain. I want you to know it's okay to be scared. I am, too. This is hard. We can figure this out together, Amber replied, every word pulling from the depths of her heart. In that moment, the air crackled with unspoken emotions. Elena felt tears prick her eyes as she watched Amber, realizing this was more than just a conversation, it was a bridge, a daring leap into vulnerability. Mr. Davidson held his breath, his past mistakes flickering through his mind like a broken record. Would he ever be able to find that same connection with his daughter? Would he ever be worthy of trust again? Clenching his fists, he willed himself to believe that today was just the beginning for both of them. As Amber continued speaking, her voice grew stronger, weaving through the uncertainty. Mom, please, listen. We can take our time, but I need to be honest. I am not perfect, and neither are you. But we love each other, right? That has to mean something. The response from the other end was quieter, drawn in. I do love you, Amber. I just don't know how to handle this. The tension in the room felt almost palpable, a mixture of hope and fear. Could they truly build something new together? What if you let me show you? Amber asked, her vulnerability shining through like a beacon of light. I don't want to hide anymore. I want to face everything with you. Elena realized they were standing on the cusp of an emotional breakthrough, and her heart raced at the possibilities. Just then, Amber's expression shifted, a mixture of relief and apprehension washing over her. Mom, are you really willing to try? To talk about it all? Amber's uncertainty hung in the air, thick with anticipation. There was a pause on the line that felt like an eternity, a moment where hearts could break or mend. Amber waited, the world around them held its breath, and in that silence, Elena sensed the fragile threads of change beginning to weave anew. What would happen next? Would that thread snap, or could they begin to create something precious together? Amber was about to find out. A heavy silence lingered on the line, stretching out into an almost unbearable tension.
Amber's heart raced as she awaited her mother's response. It was a moment that felt suspended in time, both fragile and potent, like a teetering stack of cards about to collapse. "I'm scared, Amber," her mother finally whispered, the vulnerability in her voice cutting through the thick air.
"Scared of what this means for us. I don't want to lose you again." Amber's breath caught. Relief flooded through her, mixed with sadness. "You're not going to lose me. I promise. I'm right here."
Mr. Davidson watched Amber closely, seeing how the corners of her mouth lifted in a tentative smile, how her shoulders softened a bit as she spoke. He thought back to their last confrontation, how fraught and broken their relationship had been. Seeing her brave now, reaching for something deeper brought a swell of hope. Maybe they could make it through their own struggles, too.
Can we start over?"
Her mother's voice trembled.
"I want to understand, but I don't know where to begin."
Yes. Yes, let us start. Amber cried, her heart urging her forward.
There's so much to talk about. We can figure it out together. Even if it's one little step at a time.
For a moment, the conversation shifted into a dance of hope, both women unsure but eager. Amber felt the weight of her mother's fear, but she also recognized a flicker of spark through it all, an eagerness to connect rather than disconnect.
"I need you to share your truths with me, Mom," Amber urged softly. "If I'm going to show you my life, you need to share yours, too."
There was a quiet acceptance on the other end. "I'll try, but it's all so jumbled in my head."
"I get that. I really do."
Amber sighed, the vulnerability of her own truth pushing through.
"I'm still figuring myself out too."
As their conversation continued, Amber felt a shift. There was a tentative bridge being built, a connection weaving its way through their tangled past. Elena stood to the side, witnessing the little moments happen, a quiver in Amber's lip when her mother responded kindly, the way her fists unclenched as tension faded. If just a little, Amber slid down to sit on the floor, her back against the cool wall. In coming to this, she felt more centered and anchored.
"Why don't we share a memory? Something happy that we can both hold on to?"
"Okay, I remember your 11th birthday party," her mother said, and Amber could almost hear the smile in her voice. "You wanted a dog cake, and you were so obsessed with puppies back then."
A warmth spread through Amber's chest. "I remember that. I thought you would forget." "Of course not.
I was overwhelmed when I saw how much you enjoyed it.
You were glowing."
Silence wrapped around them again, but this time it felt lighter. As they exchanged laughter and memories, tears of joy mingled with fear as Amber realized they were stepping toward healing. Just when the weight of relief settled in, heaving breaths interrupted the moment. There was a knock on the door, and both Amber and Mr. Davidson turned their heads simultaneously.
"Who is it?"
Amber called out, barely breaking her gaze from her father.
"It's me, Elena. I think we need to talk about something important."
Her voice trembled just slightly, carrying a sense of urgency that made the air feel thicker. Amber felt a prickle of concern come over her.
What could be so important right now?
The conversation with her mother began to shift out of focus.
"Can it wait?"
she asked, not wanting to break the thread they had begun to weave. More knocking followed.
Amber's heart raced. Had something happened? Would this new connection falter?
"Maybe it's best if I take a quick pause, Mom," Amber said reluctantly. "Let me check what Elena needs." As she stood, she caught her father's eye. His expression mirrored her own confusion, danced with worry.
What could be coming next?
Would it impact everything they had begun to rebuild? With the phone still pressed to her ear, she hesitated at the door, her gut tightening in anticipation of what awaited them on the other side.
Amber could hardly
breathe, caught in the delicate balance of hope and fear, wondering if today would truly mark a turning point in her life or if she had reached another crossroads entirely. Amber opened the door slowly, her heart pounding like a drum.
The moment the door creaked, she was met with Elena's wide eyes filled with urgency.
The familiar warmth of their friendship mixed with a looming sense of dread.
"What's wrong?"
Amber asked, her voice steady despite the whirlwind in her chest.
You look like you've seen a ghost. Elena took a deep breath, biting her lip like she was weighing how best to explain.
It's about your mom and the whole situation with the house.
I just overheard something you need to know. Amber's heart dropped. What do you mean?
Your dad is planning something, Elena whispered, glancing back as if afraid the walls might listen.
I heard him talking on the phone. He is thinking about selling the house. He wants to move, Amber. And if that happens, your mom might not have the choice to stay close. The words smashed into Amber, sharp and heavy. The picture she had painted of healing and rebuilding with her mother fractured instantly. No, he can't do that. Not now.
I thought you should know, Elena said softly. Amber felt trapped in a whirlwind of emotions. But we just started to. Her voice trailed off, disbelief etched across her face.
I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't like this.
I had to tell you, Elena said, her own eyes brimming with concern and the door still ajar. Amber couldn't shake the feeling that this moment held her fate. She glanced back at the phone, her mother still on the other end, still sharing memories, still reaching out.
What if I can talk to my dad? Elena's eyebrows knitted together. Are you sure? It could get messy. Amber nodded slowly. I have to try. If we're going to fix things, I can't let him take this away from us.
With determination, she closed the door softly behind her and walked back across the room. A sense of clarity washed over her as memories of their past seeped into her mind, the laughter, the warmth, the tears.
It was all worth fighting for.
Mom, she said softly, holding back the trembling in her voice as she returned to the phone.
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here, her mother replied, confusion threaded through her voice.
I just need to tell you something important. Can you listen?
Amber felt a flood of emotions, nearly drowning her, but she pushed through.
Of course, dear. What is it? Dad is thinking of selling the house. I overheard Elena just now. If that happens, we could lose everything we just started to build.
Her voice broke slightly, but she steadied herself.
I can't let that happen.
Amber, wait, her mother's voice rose slightly, panic creeping in.
What do you mean?
Why would he? I don't know, Amber admitted, heart racing.
But I think if I talk to him, if we confront him as a family, but what if he doesn't listen?
Her mother interjected, fear creeping into her tone.
I can only hope, Amber replied, swallowing hard. But we have to try. Together. Tension crackled between them, a thread of possibility woven into a fraying road.
The challenge of confronting her dad swirled around Amber, but hope propelled her forward. Okay, let us do it, her mother finally whispered, and for a heartbeat, they were united in purpose. But just as they were preparing for this monumental moment, a heavy knock rang out against the door once more, jolting Amber from her focus. Both she and her mother fell silent, heartbeats throbbing in the silence.
Amber?
It was her dad's voice, laced with an urgency that sent chills down her spine.
Can we talk? Panic surged through Amber as she exchanged worried glances with Elena.
This was at the moment she had to step into the storm.
Would they find the strength to fight together, or was this just another storm tearing them further apart?
As she hesitated, her heart racing, Amber couldn't shake the feeling that the outcome of this conversation could change everything.
Would she find the courage to stand as one, or would she let fear dictate her fate?
Taking a deep breath, Amber opened the door to face her father. The intensity in the air was palpable, thick with unvoiced emotions and the weight of change. Mr. Davidson stood there, a mixture of urgency and uncertainty in his eyes, reflecting the turmoil of the last few days.
Amber, I need to talk to you, he began, his voice shaking slightly.
Beneath that authoritative tone was a plea, a vulnerability that hinted at his own fear of losing his daughter, his family, everything he had built. Dad, Amber said, her heart racing, I just heard something about the house. She took a step forward, determination igniting her spirit.
Are you really considering selling it? Are you going to uproot everything again?
He hesitated, glancing down as if the floor held all the answers. I thought it would be best, he finally admitted, but there was a softness in his voice that hadn't been there before. It's been hard to keep everything together since your mother, well, since everything happened. But we just started mending our lives, Dad. Amber's words spilled out, flooding the space with emotion.
I'm finally getting to know Mom again.
We're building something real, and if you sell the house, it could destroy that. Mr. Davidson shifted, a shadow passing over his expression.
I'm trying to protect you,
he snapped, a hint of frustration creeping through.
But Amber pressed on, refusing to be intimidated. Protect me from what, Dad? From facing life? From being happy?
I thought love meant trusting that we could figure things out together.
Silence hung between them, a chasm filled with both anger and understanding.
Mr. Davidson looked at her then, really looked, as if he were seeing her for the first time, not just the girl he had restricted but a young woman ready to share her heart openly.
Amber, he began again, his tone softer now, I made mistakes.
I've been so scared of losing control that I forgot how to truly connect with you. Tears pooled in Amber's eyes, a mix of frustration and hope.
I need you, Dad.
I can't face the world without our family being whole. We need to be together, not apart.
I need you to see that this is the moment to trust in us, to believe in family.
He took a step closer, letting her words settle.
What if I mess it up again?
Amber looked away for a moment, envisioning the days filled with pain, the distance between them.
Then we'll fix it together, she told him resolutely. Just like Mom and I will.
But we can't have that chance if you just shut everything down.
You need to let us try. In that instant, a realization washed over Mr. Davidson.
This was his crossroad too, a chance to embrace vulnerability instead of hiding behind authoritarian walls.
I don't want to lose you, Amber. I want to understand. I want to support you, even if it means letting go of the old ways of the house of what I thought I knew.
Amber could feel it, the shift, the light breaking through the tension.
Then let us work together to find out what that looks like.
Her father nodded slowly, the weight of his decision evident in his posture. The air felt lighter, filled with every emotion they had carried through the years, a promise to explore this new uncharted territory together.
Just then, the phone rang again, and Amber lifted it to her ear. Mom?
She smiled, the warmth filling her heart as she heard her mother's voice on the other end, urging her to continue the conversation they had begun. We need each other more than ever, Mom.
Let us talk to Dad together. Mr. Davidson's eyes lit up, and he took a deep breath, almost relieved at the opportunity to unite.
I'll be right here, he assured. For the first time in a long time, hope blossomed in the tight-knit space of their world. As Amber and her father stood side by side, ready to embrace an uncertain future filled with possibilities, she felt the undeniable truth resonate within her: family was worth fighting for. The scars of their past would not define them any longer. The call connected, and Amber felt the warmth of familial bonds weaving together in a tapestry of love and resilience.
They were not alone anymore. And as they faced the daunting path ahead, she knew they were ready to be truly connected in ways they had yet to imagine. Embracing her father, they made a pact of openness, a promise of communication that would echo through the rooms of their lives, drawing their hearts closer together. Elena stood slightly to the side, breathing a sigh of relief. She had witnessed a beautiful transformation, a movement toward healing that intertwined their journeys. The sun peeked through the window, casting a golden glow over them all, softening the edges of their fears, illuminating the possibilities that waited ahead. Amber felt a swell of gratitude at the connections they had forged, the fractures that were healing under the weight of love. She was ready to tackle whatever came next, empowered by the strength of understanding and unwavering support. As they approached a new day, everything felt like the promise of hope wrapped tightly in the embrace of family and friends. And now, more than ever, it was time to pour all of this newfound love into every relationship, to continue the difficult but rewarding journey of building something stronger than what they had lost. They all deserved that chance, and now, dear friends, if you found inspiration in this journey of love, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it makes such a difference. Comment below about your feelings regarding the ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us encourage and uplift each other, one story at a time.